The spoken word carries a power that few truly understand, yet it is the very foundation upon which life's experiences are built. Words are not empty sounds, they are creative vibrations that set forces in motion. When a person speaks, they are giving form to invisible thought, and thought clothed in words becomes a command to the universe. Every sentence uttered is like a seed cast into fertile soil, destined to bring forth a harvest in due time. Many people fail to realize that their daily conversations are shaping their destiny. When one constantly speaks of struggle, of lack, of limitation, they are unknowingly constructing a reality that mirrors those very conditions. On the other hand, words of faith, abundance, and victory create pathways for prosperity, health, and success to flow. The spiritual law behind this is simple. What you decree with your tongue will manifest in your life. The scriptures affirm this truth when they declare, life and death are in the power of the tongue. This is not symbolic language, but a spiritual law. Your words either breathe life into your desires or suffocate them. To say I am poor is to chain yourself to poverty. To say I cannot afford is to bar the door to abundance. But to declare I am one with the riches of God opens the floodgates of supply and sets unseen forces in motion to bring opportunities, resources, and people into alignment with that declaration. The power of the spoken word is not limited to grand affirmations made in moments of prayer or meditation. It is active in the simple, everyday speech that flows without thought. Casual remarks of fear, doubt, or complaint can be just as potent as intentional affirmations. For this reason, one must learn to guard the tongue, training it to speak only that which aligns with faith and divine order. Words spoken carelessly are like arrows released without aim, but words spoken consciously are like arrows directed at a target, striking their mark with precision. Every man and woman is a creator, and the instrument of creation is the voice. The tone, the conviction, and the intent behind words matter. A half-hearted declaration brings little result, but a statement charged with faith and certainty carries the authority to shift circumstances. The spoken word is a bridge between the invisible and the visible, between thought and manifestation. By speaking, one takes possession of an idea and stamps it into the fabric of reality. The great secret is that the universe does not respond to complaints or lamentations, for those are words rooted in unbelief. The universe responds to command, to faith-filled decree, to the voice that knows its oneness with divine power. When the words of the tongue harmonize with the beliefs of the heart, creation is inevitable. Thus, the spoken word is not a casual tool, but a divine instrument. It is the wand that builds, the key that unlocks, the decree that establishes all things. Wealth is not a privilege reserved for a few, nor is it something hidden in distant places, waiting to be discovered by chance. It is a constant, ever-flowing stream of divine supply, available to every soul that aligns itself with spiritual law. Many live with the belief that resources are scarce, that opportunities are limited, and that abundance belongs only to the fortunate. This illusion of lack creates fear and competition, blinding individuals to the truth that God's riches are infinite and inexhaustible. Just as the sun shines without running out of light, divine supply flows without end. To recognize this truth is to step into a new consciousness where prosperity is no longer seen as distant, but as a present reality. The divine supply does not come through struggle or force. It comes through alignment, faith, and receptivity. When a person believes that their good is limited, they shut the very door through which blessings would enter. But when one affirms that wealth is part of their divine inheritance, they begin to attract it naturally, without fear or strain. Wealth, in its true sense, is more than money. It is the fullness of life, health, happiness, opportunities, and resources flowing in perfect order. Money becomes one expression of this supply, but the principle itself is far greater. It is the universal law of abundance that governs all creation. Imagine the ocean. No matter how much water is drawn from it, the supply is never diminished. In the same way, No matter how many individuals prosper, there is always more than enough for others. This truth dissolves the false belief in competition. One person's abundance does not rob another of theirs, for each has access to the same infinite source. Divine supply cannot be exhausted, and it cannot be withheld, except by unbelief. Those who live in fear of lack often block their own good by clinging to limitation, whereas those who trust in the inexhaustible riches of God open the way for blessings to flow. To live in the consciousness of divine wealth requires a shift in perception. Instead of seeing money as hard to earn, one sees it as an instrument of God's provision. Instead of saying, "I do not have enough," one affirms, "My supply is endless and immediate." These declarations are not mere positive thinking, they are acknowledgments of spiritual truth. The universe, being orderly and responsive, mirrors back to the individual the exact belief they hold. Those who believe in scarcity experience scarcity. Those who believe in abundance experience abundance. The stream of divine supply flows continuously, but each person decides whether to open their channel wide or to keep it closed through doubt and fear. Wealth is therefore not about acquiring something new, but realizing what already exists. It is aligning with the truth that abundance is your divine right, and that nothing can separate you from the riches of God except disbelief in them. When you recognize that wealth is ever present and inexhaustible, you cease striving and begin receiving. The law of decree is one of the most powerful principles that governs the spiritual realm and shapes human experience. It is rooted in the eternal truth that what you speak with faith becomes established in your life. Decree is not mere wishful thinking, nor is it casual talk. It is a spiritual command, spoken with authority, that aligns the seen with the unseen. Scripture declares, "Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee." This is not poetic language, but an eternal law that operates with precision. Just as physical laws like gravity never fail, the law of decree never fails when activated with unwavering faith. When a person speaks words of lack or fear, they are making a decree whether they realize it or not. Saying "I can't make it" or "money never comes to me" is a declaration that becomes established through repetition and belief. The universe does not question whether you meant it or not. It responds by arranging circumstances that match your words. On the other hand, when you decree abundance with conviction, declaring that wealth flows to you and opportunities are divinely appointed, invisible forces begin to work in your favor. People, resources, and conditions are drawn together to fulfill that spoken command. The effectiveness of a decree lies in the alignment between word, thought, and faith. Words spoken without belief carry little weight, but words charged with faith become dynamic and unstoppable. A decree is not begging or pleading with life to bring something good. It is the recognition that good already exists in the spiritual realm, and your declaration simply calls it into manifestation. For example, when one affirms, "I am one with the inexhaustible riches of God," this is not a request for wealth to appear, but an acknowledgement of a truth that already is, which by the law of decree must then reveal itself in physical form. Many people unknowingly misuse this law by decreeing negative outcomes through constant complaint. Every time one says, "I always struggle," or "nothing ever works out for me," they are setting into motion conditions that confirm those words. The law makes no distinction between positive and negative. It only establishes what is spoken with belief. This is why conscious use of the tongue is vital. A disciplined tongue is the key to a prosperous life. Guarding your words ensures that only decrees aligned with divine abundance and harmony are released into the world. To live by the law of decree is to step into the role of co-creator with God. Instead of waiting for life to happen, you speak life into existence. Instead of hoping for supply, you decree supply and watch it manifest. The spoken decree is a command to the universe, and the universe, faithful to divine law, always obeys. It is through this law that miracles unfold, doors open, and wealth flows in ways beyond human reasoning. Guarding against negative speech is one of the most essential practices for anyone seeking to live a prosperous and abundant life. Words are not idle or meaningless. They carry energy, power, and authority. Every statement uttered is a form of decree, and whether spoken consciously or unconsciously, those words set creative forces into motion. When a person constantly speaks of limitation, they unwittingly create barriers around themselves, shutting off the very supply they long for. Saying things such as "I can't afford it," or "I'll never get ahead," may feel harmless in the moment, but spiritually, they are commands to the universe to withhold abundance. The law of mind and speech makes no distinction between words spoken lightly and words spoken with seriousness. Both plant seeds in the soil of life that must eventually bear fruit. The tongue is a powerful instrument, and its careless use is often the greatest obstacle to prosperity. People pray for wealth and opportunities, yet in their daily conversations they cancel their prayers by declaring poverty, doubt, or fear. To say "money never stays with me" is to order the universe to prove that statement true. To complain about debt, lack, or failure is to reinforce those conditions and keep them active in one's experience. Words create a vibration that returns to the speaker multiplied, for what you release outward must echo back. Thus, those who desire a life of abundance must learn to discipline their speech, speaking only those things they wish to see established. Guarding against negative speech does not mean denying reality or pretending difficulties do not exist. Rather, it means refusing to give power to them through words. Instead of saying, "I am always struggling," one can say, "I am moving into greater prosperity every day." Instead of declaring lack, one can affirm, "All my needs are met in divine order." The difference lies in the vibration created. One statement magnifies problems, while the other invites solutions and opens channels for supply to flow. The tongue must become a servant of faith, not of fear. Training the tongue requires mindfulness. At first, one may notice how often negative words slip into conversation out of habit, but with awareness and persistence, the habit can be transformed. Each time a negative word arises, it can be replaced with a positive declaration. Over time, speech becomes naturally aligned with truth, and the environment begins to reflect those words. What was once a cycle of lack becomes a flow of abundance. What was once fear-driven conversation becomes faith-filled decree. Speech is a mirror of belief, but it also shapes belief. By consistently speaking words of abundance, health, and harmony, even the subconscious mind begins to accept them as reality. This creates a powerful inner alignment that draws matching experiences. To guard against negative speech is therefore to guard one's destiny. By choosing every word carefully and refusing to let words of lack pass the lips, one sets in motion a life where abundance, joy, and prosperity become the natural order. Affirmations are not empty phrases or shallow statements. They are powerful decrees that align the individual with the divine order of the universe. When spoken with conviction, affirmations open the floodgates of abundance and call forth wealth, opportunities, and blessings from the unseen into the seen. The key affirmation, "I am one with the inexhaustible riches of God. Wealth flows to me freely, endlessly, and abundantly. I now receive riches in divine order, under grace and in perfect ways," is not simply a collection of words, but a spiritual command that carries profound authority. Each part of this affirmation speaks to a universal truth and establishes the consciousness of prosperity in the one who declares it. The phrase, "I am one with the inexhaustible riches of God," is a reminder of unity with divine supply. It acknowledges that the source of wealth is not the economy, employers, or external circumstances, but the infinite reservoir of divine abundance that cannot be depleted. By affirming oneness with that source, the individual removes the illusion of separation and enters into the flow of prosperity. The second part, "Wealth flows to me freely, endlessly, and abundantly," establishes the expectation of ease and continuity. It rejects struggle and limitation, replacing them with a vision of supply moving without obstruction. The words freely and endlessly declare that abundance is not temporary or conditional, but continuous and boundless. The next phrase, "I now receive riches in divine order," places the affirmation within the framework of divine timing and harmony. It reminds the speaker that wealth does not need to be forced or chased, but will arrive in ways that are aligned with perfect order. This eliminates anxiety about how supply will come, as it affirms that the universe has already arranged the path. The inclusion of under grace and in perfect ways ensures that prosperity arrives without harm or difficulty, in ways that uplift rather than burden. It keeps the flow of wealth pure, aligned with goodness, and free from strain. Repeating such affirmations daily trains the subconscious mind to accept abundance as natural. The subconscious is the fertile ground in which words take root, and once it is convinced, it works tirelessly to bring conditions into alignment with the declared truth. Opportunities begin to appear, new ideas come forth, and circumstances shift to mirror the inner belief. The affirmation becomes a magnet that attracts wealth, for the law of mind dictates that like attracts like. When one affirms abundance, abundance responds. The power of affirmations lies not in mechanical repetition, but in the faith and emotion behind the words. Speaking them with conviction, feeling their reality, and imagining their fulfillment magnifies their effectiveness. Over time, these affirmations reshape not only outer circumstances, but also inner attitudes toward wealth. Fear of lack diminishes, doubt dissolves, and a steady confidence in divine provision takes root. Affirmations become living words, carrying the authority of divine truth, and through them, the floodgates of wealth swing wide open. True prosperity is never meant to be hoarded or kept solely for oneself. It is a channel through which blessings flow outward to touch the lives of others. Wealth, in its highest form, is a reflection of divine order and serves a purpose far beyond personal comfort. Those who receive abundance are called not merely to enjoy it, but to become instruments of good, extending the benefits of their prosperity to their families, communities, and the world at large. When wealth is shared and used to uplift, it multiplies. This principle is rooted in spiritual law. What flows freely through one's hands returns manifold, for generosity and service activate the invisible currents of divine supply. Many people see wealth as a goal to possess, rather than as a tool to express divinity. They accumulate for security, status, or pleasure, often missing the greater purpose that riches serve. True abundance, however, is inseparable from responsibility and love. The person who hoards wealth without contributing to the welfare of others is like a river dammed at its source. The flow is blocked, and stagnation occurs. In contrast, one who shares generously, invests in the welfare of others, and supports causes of good becomes a living conduit for the universe's riches. Such individuals experience not only material gain, but spiritual fulfillment, for their prosperity aligns with the greater law of giving and receiving. Being a channel of blessing does not require grand gestures or enormous wealth. Even small acts of generosity, spoken words of encouragement, or thoughtful assistance create a ripple effect, extending the reach of abundance far beyond the immediate act. Wealth is energy, and energy moves where it is directed. When channeled in service to others, it returns amplified. This is why affirmations of abundance often include statements of giving. By opening the flow outward, one ensures the flow inward remains uninterrupted. The more freely you release, the more freely you receive, because the universe recognizes and honors the rhythm of circulation. Furthermore, seeing oneself as a channel of wealth changes one's perspective on receiving. There is no fear of scarcity because abundance is always moving. The role of the individual is to allow the flow to pass through without attachment or limitation. This mindset creates a sense of ease, joy, and confidence, for prosperity is no longer a struggle but a natural state of being. By focusing on the service aspect of wealth, one transforms the pursuit of money from a personal endeavor into a spiritual practice, integrating material success with divine purpose. The spiritual law underlying this principle is clear. Blessings increase when shared. Wealth becomes a reflection of one's inner state and alignment with divine will. Those who understand that prosperity is meant to flow through them, not merely to them, live in harmony with the universe. They attract not only material riches, but also opportunities, relationships, and experiences that continue the cycle of giving and receiving. In this way, abundance is not static but dynamic, expanding in all directions, touching countless lives, and manifesting the truth that wealth, when channeled rightly, is a sacred instrument of blessing.